Any of our coverage, you will know that Wayne promised to go, well, it was originally rowing up the Mersey if Norway made it through to the quarter-finals. He's now decided that it might be rowing up the Hudson, and word has got to Erling Haaland.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see Wayne boy. Wayne Rooney said he was going to row if we went to the quarterfinals. Now we are in the quarterfinals, so Wayne Rooney, I expect you to go out on a rowing trip.
And the thing is, you've got every intention of doing it. This is not something you're being pressured into now. This is an undertaking of your choosing.
Yeah, I will be doing that again, but no, Big Meeks is going to come along with me.
Bringing me into it.
Joe Hart's going to do it as well. So me, Meeks and Hart here are all taking part, aren't we? So we're just trying to get it put together to do on the Hudson River.
By the time you get out there's going to be an 8 with the Cox at the front of it, by the time you start building this team. Look, Erling Haaland and the damage that he can cause, we know that from his performances in the Premier League. And yes, he and Mark Gahey are teammates. But he's been so important to Norway, as we expected him to be. How much of a problem can he cause England, do you think? So much of a problem because it feels as though he's got more energy at this World Cup as well. He seems to be pressing a lot more. His confidence is really high. And when you've got that technique, we're talking about one of the best in world football, if not the best, at finishing. Probably Harry Kane would talk about that and Mbappe as well. But the thing is with that last clip as well, you don't normally see him in those sort of...
It'll be easier for him. It won't. It'll be harder because there's a reason why boxers, when they go train for a fight, they spar fighters who aren't as good as them because the risk of getting hurt. And when you're coming up against a forward like that in training, and in your memory that he's scoring a lot of goals in training, that's not good. So it's actually the forward who's got the advantage to the training.
When I was in training, Daniel Sturridge, when he was at Man City, in short spaces, I used to kick him all over the place. He never used to go.
You mean when there weren't cameras around, Micah?
Basically, in my ear. I'm getting old now, aren't I? But as soon as I went to Anfield on a big pitch, I was at Villa, he was twisting me all over. He was going into pockets, he was running behind. I didn't know how to control him. When you're in training, you're only playing really at 80%. It's different, I think, in a game. I don't want people say, well, maybe it's advantage of the defender playing it because of training every day. No, I totally disagree with that because it's completely different. Would you say that as well?
Yeah, it's completely different when you're training and when you play, especially in a quarter-final of the World Cup.
Of course.
You know, I feel like the defenders, we have always more to lose than the strikers because the striker, they will try to take you on a few times. The defender can recover the ball, but, you know, if it goes one, it's a goal.
Yeah.
So I didn't find easier to face a teammate. Even, you know, I had a very good teammate playing against him. Eden Hazard always every training session, although he was not training very hard. But, you know, I felt strong. And then when I had to face Spain, Belgium, that was a different story. Yeah.
But whoever's in defence for England, whoever's playing at the back for England...
And that's a huge decision for Thomas Tuchel.
It's all about concentration. Because Erling Haaland, we've seen him for Man City, we've seen him throughout his career. There's games where you don't think he's in the game.
I always runs to see him, you know, week in, week out in training.
So did Gabriel for Brazil.
Yeah, but that's
the only little detail.
Listen, there is lots of time now, almost 24 hours to build up to England's game against Norway, but we've just watched Spain advance to the semi-finals. Thank you very much.
Let's start with England, though, who are making their final preparations for the World Cup quarter-final against Norway. 25 of the 26 members of Thomas Tuchel's squad will train in Miami, with only Jordan Henderson missing. It remains to be seen, though, whether Mark Gahey, Declan Rice and Reece James will be fit enough to face Norway. Well, Gahey has been struggling with his hamstring after damaging it in the last 16 win over Mexico. Declan Rice has been unable to train over the last few days because of a stomach bug. He's been isolated from his teammates. England preparing for that World Cup quarter-final against Norway tomorrow. Thomas Tuchel spoke about dealing with headaches in the build-up to England's last 16 win over Mexico, and he may have another one before this tie in Miami. Our football correspondent Rob Dorset is there for us. Rob, injuries and illness, what can you tell us?
Yeah, it's not good, Mike, I have to say. Look, here we are on Miami Beach. No relaxing for England's players right now, though, or for Thomas Tuchel. He's got, I think, his biggest training session to come in this World Cup so far in a couple of hours' time, which we'll try to bring to you on Sky Sports News. And he has some injury and illness concerns. Let's talk you through them. Declan Rice has not been able to train because of a sickness bug. We hope to see him out on the grass today. The word that I'm getting is it's not too serious. He's the only one in the squad who's been affected. He's been isolated, so with lots of fluids and specialist medication from the FA medics, I think the hope is he'll be okay to start. Reece James, well, he took his fullest part in training yesterday that he's taken in the last 2.5 weeks out here with England after that hamstring problem. But it's probably still a really big call and a big risk to think that he might be able to play 90 minutes from the start. So question marks again at right back with Jarrell Quansah suspended for 2 matches, remember. They do have Jed Spence available there on the right-hand side of defence. But the new one and the real concern is Mark Gay. We can show you the pictures that we got yesterday of him strolling around the outside of the training pitch at the Swope Soccer Village in Kansas City. He didn't take part in the full session, which was away from the cameras. I understand he was rested and had some treatment on a hamstring problem of his own. And it's been told to me that it's not too serious. But it is timely, and that's the problem. Is there enough time to get Mark Gay fit and ready to test that hamstring against one of the most physical challenges in world football, coming up against Erling Haaland as Norway's striker? So interesting to see, vital to see whether he's out on the training field in a couple of hours' time. If he doesn't make it, who gets the nod? John Stones with the experience, Dan Burn with all of his physicality and how impressive he was in the closing stages against Mexico. And do not forget that Norway hit a lot of diagonal balls from deep to the left side of England's defence, the right side of their attack, with Alexander Orlov and often Erling Haaland drifting out there as well. So maybe, just maybe, Thomas Tuchel is thinking that Dan Burn could be the answer to try and counter those long, high balls. But we've been countenancing, I should say, opinion right across Sky Sports News today with every guest that's come on. Some big names here. Have a listen to what their thoughts are on who should be starting at centre-back if Mark Gay doesn't make it.
I just think the experience and the quality that John Stones possesses, and England, I would imagine as well, in this game will have a lot of the ball, or will look to have a lot of the ball. So for me, as I said, Dan Burn has done brilliant, for so long now, and done brilliant getting into the squad, done brilliant when he came on in the last fixture. But I'll be picking John Stones.
John Stones, as a player, he's used to it. Playing in big games, having those sort of demands, playing in big football matches at his club, having to win every game. Every game's important. So for him, he'll sort of like take it in stride, and I don't think it matters how many games he's played. He would have worked hard in training, and I'm sure he would have been keeping himself or making sure that he's ready for any opportunity that comes his way. So I mean, if John Stones comes in, what a player to come in and fill that gap.
But for me, I would love a Stones-Burn partnership, because in there you would have everything to stop Haaland. Stones, who knows him so well, obviously having been his teammate for 3 years now, and then the physicality of Burn on the other side. For me, Stones and Burn, if Gay can't play and you put Quansah right back, if Reece James is not fit enough, that would be the perfect back four.
Rob, does the England hierarchy think we've seen the best of their team yet?
No, they don't. But I think it's been a strange World Cup, hasn't it? Because the second half against Croatia, I think England played some of the best attacking football that I've ever seen them play. And I've said, and a lot of other people who know more about football than I do have said, that victory in Mexico, only the third nation ever to win inside the Azteca Stadium, was one of the most impressive England results of all time. Most impressive results, not necessarily the best performance in terms of the football that England played. It was backs to the wall, it was gritty, it was determined, it was dogged. So that's why it was such an impressive performance against all the odds and in that environment. But have a listen to what Anthony Barry, Thomas Tuchel's assistant, has had to say to TalkSport, because this tells you, I think, that he's hoping there could be some more fluidity and better football from England up against Norway. He says, "We believe that the petrol tank is full, the foot is on the gas, and now maybe we just need to take the handbrake off. Sometimes that can happen with the opponents that we're facing. Sometimes maybe that will happen when they really see the light at the end of the tunnel. There's only 11 days left, and now is the time to take the handbrake off and go all in. We think that the public and everyone has seen so many good faces of this team, but we still believe there's some left to show. And if they click, if they become coherent and be able to find a cohesive performance that we think they're capable of, then it could be pretty exciting to watch. That's a very impressive rallying call from England's assistant head coach, isn't it? We've seen him speaking to live TV during the tournament at half-time, and he's been very, very impressive. Imagine him and Thomas Tuchel giving you a team talk before the game or at half-time. It would be very motivational stuff, wouldn't it? And that's the message England's coaching staff will give England's players tomorrow. Treat this like a Premier League game. Norway are probably the most like any other Premier League side that you will have played in this tournament. You know Erling Haaland, you know Martin Odegaard. Go out there and attack them. The difficulty for England is trying to attack them in this sort of temperatures that feel like 43 Celsius when you take the humidity into account, and also making sure they don't leave the back door open that one of the best strikers in the world, Erling Haaland, can exploit. Indeed.
Temperatures will be worse for the Norwegians, though, Rob. Right, come on. Are England favourites for this?
Yes, I think they are. And I'm not sure they're particularly comfortable with that. They said they were quite happy to say that they felt like they were underdogs in Mexico City, against Mexico, because of all that was there in terms of the Azteca Stadium. This feels very different to the last World Cup quarter-final that England played in, though. That was France in Qatar, remember? And England performed pretty well and came out of that with a lot of kudos, despite defeat. My feeling is that England will expect to win this game. England's supporters and media will expect England to win this game. If you'd said before the tournament England would get to a quarter-final, most people would have said, OK, that's probably about par for where they're at right now, with not the best defence, but a brilliant attacking lineup. But if England were to lose to Norway in a World Cup quarter-final, I think there would be some disappointment. A couple of people have said to me in the last few days they really hope that victory, that momentous, historic night in Mexico City, wasn't England's World Cup final. This one feels like a key game for Thomas Tuchel. If England win this and get to a semi-final, they can hold their heads high and go home thinking they've had a fantastic tournament. If they lose it, no shame in going out in a quarter-final, but I think there will be still a bit of a sour taste in the mouth.
None of this holding heads up, Rob. If you get to the semi, you've got to go win it. We will discuss that further, but for the moment, thank you very much.
Yeah, true.
Now, England against Norway for a place in the World Cup semi-final looms, and with it, the mouth-watering battle of the strikers, Kane versus Haaland. Well, much of the build-up has been dominated by the duo and the wider race for the Golden Boot, which of course includes Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi. Jamie Carragher says Haaland will go down as one of the greatest goal scorers in history.
There's a bit more to Harry Kane's game than Erling Haaland. I actually think Erling Haaland, when he finishes his career, I think he'll be remembered as the greatest goal scorer of all time. I think he's probably the greatest goal scorer, probably right now, we've probably seen in English football. I do give me think of the numbers he gets. You know, I think he'll get over. I know Ronaldo's gone for 1,000 goals in his career. I think Haaland will do that himself. He's just an absolute goal machine. His record at international level, I think, blows Messi and Ronaldo's apart really after 50 or 60 games. So he's a freak. He's a phenomenon. You know, we should be just delighted that we see him week in, week out in the Premier League as a superstar. But I'll just edge for Kane because there's a little bit more to his game. It's a difficult one with Haaland because he's not in the game that often, really. It's just he's absolutely devastating in the penalty box. And Gabriel, who's been one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League in these last sort of 3 or 4 seasons, he's just absolutely bullied him, hasn't he, in the game against Brazil. I'm not sure you can stop him physically, really. He's just, he's a man mountain. He throws people about on the football pitch. And as I said, I go back to Gabriel, who's been fantastic for Arsenal and physically is superb as well. People can't handle him at set pieces, but when you see what Haaland's done to him in the last few outings as well, it's a scary thought.
Someone said to me, pick one. I don't think I could do that. I think Harry Kane is you've heard it many times before, the complete centre forward. I think it's so hard for a player, to be honest, to sort of master that sort of number 10 position. He's one of the best passers in the world. And alongside that, when the ball goes wide, he manages to get in the box and become like the focal point and be the one that gets on the end of crosses and shots and stuff like that. So he's a special player. We know that. Erling Haaland's a machine. He becomes, sometimes he's not affecting games or it looks like he's quiet. But I think that's calculated. His movement. He goes from standing still to being so explosive in the box, and when he gets the chances, he scores 9 times out of 10. So, of course, before the game, there's going to be talks about the 2 centre forwards and that, but it's the team. In fact, it's the squad. But yeah, both of them are special players.
Let's get some more on England now as they prepare for the quarter-final against Norway tomorrow, a Norway side that knocked out Brazil in the last 16. Well, despite that win, European football expert Julien Laurens feels that England will be a completely different challenge for the Norwegians.
For me, England have to be the favourite, really. If you look at it, I think Norway were really good against Brazil in the tactical game plan that they had. That worked really well. I think that was a very average Brazil team. And Carlo Ancelotti messed up everything for his tactics in that game. England is a very, very different challenge for Norway than Brazil would have ever been, really. So I know the Kane v Haaland matchup is great, and for us it's wonderful. I think Jude Bellingham has been fantastic. I like what Thomas Tuchel is doing with the mentality of this England team, maybe more than what we see on the pitch. So for me, England will win and will qualify and get to the semi-final. It won't be easy, and I think Norway will fight hard for it. I think the role of Martin Odegaard will be very interesting in how England cope with him and mark him almost to try to stop his influence on the Norway team. But I can only see one winner here, and that's England.
England fans will love that, and they'll love this from former international Jermaine Defoe, who also feels that England have enough to beat Norway.
We've started slow again, but now I like to think now we'd really kick on. And even when you look at the bench, the players that have not featured in the tournament, you know, you look at the bench, you think, you know, there's some top talent there. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm really looking forward to the game. But now, you know, it's a case of sort of for us, you know, just having that belief that we're able to, you know, win and get over the line because we've come so close. Like I said, I still fancy us to win.
Another
to
yellow
be honest.
card. Otherwise,
it's not going to be
they
easy.
would be,
you know, especially
suspended.
It's going to be really warm. The game will probably be a lot slower than it's been. You know, conditions be tough. But again, I go back to mentality, and I feel like now these group of players, especially after the Mexico game, I think when you win in that sort of manner, it gives so much to the group. And I feel like, you know, in this game, I think we'll really show how good we are, and I fancy us to win 2-1.
Well, despite reports of illness in the Norway camp this week, all 26 of their squad trained this afternoon, and perhaps worryingly for England fans, they look particularly relaxed. Erling Haaland has had a summer to remember already at the World Cup. And as you can see, he's got his playful side out again. Leo Østigård getting slapped with resistance bands for him. Not all playtime, though. The skipper, Martin Ødegaard, and the rest of the squad put through their paces in the hot temperatures for just what they can expect in a very hot game in Miami.
Just to recap, if you missed it earlier, Gerald Quansah will be suspended for 2 matches after his red card against Mexico, and there is no right of appeal there. Patrick, you're not with us Saturday evening, and the Viking row is coming. What would you be saying to your defenders and your midfielders about trying to contain Erling Haaland?
Listen, he's a really difficult player to mark because he doesn't need to touch the ball. He doesn't need to get involved in the games to score those opportunities. It's just to have him really close, to have him under control, and to really be focusing on him, especially when the ball is around the box.
It's probably as well, but you have to try and restrict the service to him. And by that I say the ball's into the box and you know, not making him have a run on you so as he can run through on it, because it's very, you don't really see him miss those too frequently, or if the ball's going into the box in any kind of, you just feel like he's going to be the first to it. He's somebody that is very difficult to stop him.
I mean, his conversion rate is remarkable. Now, clearly, Roy, you don't do what Gabriel did, which is let him get a run on you and get off.
No, of course.
So do you literally almost have to be touch tight, as you say, the whole time?
Well, you won't be able to stop him. But Riley just mentioned, but it's the service. You've got to try and dominate midfield. You've got to try and get to Ødegaard, close people down, because Haaland has proven over the number of years it is impossible to stop him. But you can do something about the service. So when he takes touches here, you've got to get close to him. That's why he's a great player.
His conversion rate is ridiculous.
Fantastic, and that's why, again, so forget about touches or what he does in general play. Again, the hardest part of football is putting the ball in the back of the net, and he's one of the greatest at doing it. So it's not about you won't be able to stop him, but do something about the service.
But I think the goal that he scored, the first one on the header, you see in Marquinhos, who's one of the central back, just coming out of position. So the other central back was quite really isolated. So there was creating that space, that gap, that he make the run. So I think for England it will be really important to have those 2 central back to be really close to each other, to not create that space for him to make that kind of run.
How do you think England should approach the game, Patrick?
No, but I think England will dictate the game. I hope England will dictate the game. If you're asking me who's, I think that's going to go through, I will say England, because they are the favorite of that games to go to the semi-final. So when you look at the game they play against Mexico, they win really convincingly, and I expect them to have the same kind of attitude, the same kind of belief, and they have to go into the game with this kind of desire to dictate the game and to win the game.
Like, England are a very, very good team. But what we need to find out now, can they go on to be a great team? We'll find out over the next 10 days.
And that's is that the hardest step?
Yeah,
it's even harder than getting to be a really good team.
Yeah, even the chat there, they've had a load of plaudits for the Mexico game, and the players are getting interviewed and they're getting asked about it, and they've got to answer the questions. But you got to back it up now. You got to move on quickly. That's done and dusted now. It's all about the next challenge. And again, there's no doubt they have the quality. Have they got the temperament and the belief to go on and have a great 10 days ahead for them?
Because actually England, the one thing they have struggled with is to back up really good performances. They can play really well and they think, right, what are they going to do next time? And they slightly tail away from that. They can't afford to do that with Haaland in town.
What you're hoping is that the Mexican result can give them that boost of confidence that they need. We know we've got two world-class players who are match winners.
But why do we believe that England can do it? You know, if there is a team, I know that it is not at the final yet, but I don't want France to face England in the final.
Yeah.
I will prefer them to play Argentina.
France are in the final yet, Patrick.
Not quite. Patrick, thank you. Lovely to have you back with us.